With Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish staring down a huge matchup in the coming week, and the offense apparently getting back on track last week against Purdue, the prospects of a letdown were high, given the fact that confidence was high and the possibility of a top 15 foe on the schedule coming into Notre Dame Stadium next weekend. How would the Irish fare? Find out next on Talk Like a Champion. Welcome back, Irish Nation. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on our recap. As of course you know, I am Mr. CeeLo here, getting you all caught up on the wonderful things of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And as you guys know, we had a opponent that we shouldn't be struggling with, but unfortunately, games don't always go as you plan. Things happen and you're not always able to perform at another level because, of course, the opposing team is there to stop you. But before we get started, let us take a look at a little bit of business. Hope you guys are doing great. I'm doing much better. Always doing great after a victory, you guys. As I said, welcome you guys back. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been a busy weekend. As many of you know, quarterback Deuce Knight, whom is a target and was a commit, has retracted his commitment. But there is still hopes from a lot of individuals that think that because Auburn can't get, their quarterback situation under control, a lot of people are thinking that this flip is probably not going to be a permanent thing. I'm not so sure. I think ultimately his ability to have playing time is going to have a large part to do with whether or not he commits to Notre Dame. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. As I said, I think ultimately he's probably going to end up flipping. I think he's going to end up wanting to play anytime, and as out of whack as things are at Auburn, I'm not so sure that this is going to be a situation that is going to turn out well for the Fighting Irish. But as I said, I think I'm confident in what we have in South Bend at quarterbacks. As we'll get into this, and you guys will most definitely see that the quarterback position is going to be okay, regardless of whether it's Riley Leonard or whether it's Steve Angeli. I'm so happy about what I'm seeing out of Angeli, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be a lot of fun when he eventually gets his chance next season, if he doesn't get it any sooner. He is such a great, talented thrower. And I remember hearing the NBC announcer say that he's absolutely a great touch pass thrower. And I think what he needs to end up doing is just being patient. Don't listen to all of that excess mouth that people are saying about you're not this, you're not that, and just go out there and do what you do, Angeli. But this ain't about Steve Angeli, you guys. As I said, not much on the forefront of Notre Dame talk. Just a lot of people who are happy that we're winning and that we're taking the right steps. But let's get into Saturday's contest. Oh, don't forget, you guys, please subscribe if you watch the show and put your name down in the comments so I can keep a track of you guys. YouTube is not doing me any favors. But let's look at the game on Saturday, which in a lot of mind is of a lot of people and a lot of YouTubers and podcasters that are Notre Dame reporters. They believe that this team needs to get off the fast starts. I believe that as well, but ultimately what is happening, it seems to me, as the Irish are playing with their competition, and that's not a good thing. I agree with a couple of the analysts that said so. But let's understand something. We're having to go at this without two of our best linemen and arguably one of our best defensive players. So ultimately, this is going to be a situation where you got Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock trying to play this the best way they know how, which is not getting in a situation where you're putting yourself behind the eight ball. This is not going to be an offense that's going to be able to come from behind unless you stick Angeli in there. However, I did hear a couple of podcasters on the Irish podcast. They made a statement that they need to start putting more plays in there where guys like Bo Collins can go make plays. Look, this guy's a big play waiting to happen. He is not afraid to go get the football. This is the problem I have with so many programs that have number one wide receivers and guys that are capable of just balling out. These guys can't ball out, and I get sick and tired of hearing analysts always saying that it's the receivers not getting open, the receivers not getting open. Look, sometimes you got to throw the ball up there and say, my guy's better than your guy. And you guys have heard me say this on numerous occasions. This is why guys like Tobias Merriweather are not here anymore. And on that note, I heard some really disappointing news today. I believe it was at a press conference that star in the making, Jaden Mickey, has foregone this season. He is going to ask for a red shirt and he is going to transfer. This is trouble to me. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, you should have mentioned that in the notes. And I totally forgot about that. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. He's going to transfer, and that's a huge blow to that secondary. He was used limitedly, and I was one of those guys that's like, why is he not getting a lot of playing time? But I don't know, and it's gut wrenching because we continuously lose guys to the transfer portal, and that happens generally when you recruit really good players. But I think Marcus Freeman and Denbrock and Al Golden have to do a better job at getting these guys snaps. I just think they have to do a better job. I really do. I think they got to do a better job because you cannot take for granted what you have, because then you end up being like Dabo Swinney. You think these guys are just going to come here, and that's not how it works. But as I said, my apologies for not mentioning that from the get-go. But Notre Dame 28, Miami of Ohio 3. It took a while for this team to get going again, to the point that it looked like Miami was going to sneak around and lay into this game. But I think what it wasn't so much the offensive line couldn't get going, because much like many other teams that play Notre Dame, and more likely Louisville next week, they're going to put 8-9 guys in the box. And that's not what you want to see if you're an Irish run offense. Now, especially knowing what you know about what Louisville and a lot of the teams have been trying to do this season, Denbrock and Marcus Freeman are going to have to come up with an elite game plan against Louisville, because, as we've said, When Louisville beat them last season, they were able to just stuff the run all night long, shooting gaps, making plays all over the field. And this can't happen. And hopefully Denbrock's going to go back to the well and do some things differently. But we're not here to talk about that. But looking at this game here, Miami of Ohio was able to do a lot of the things that more than likely a lot of teams are going to start looking at. They were putting guys in the box. Whereas Leonard threw some decent balls, but he was 6 yards short of having his first game where he averaged 10 yards of completion. This is a huge uptick. But the thing that I'm concerned with is he's going to have to start working on understanding, look, if you got one-on-one with guys like Bo Collins, Jaden Thomas, and even Deion Colsey, who caught the one ball from Steve Angeli, I would love to see them get Deion Colsey out there with those jump balls. Because, I mean, look, whether people want to admit it or not, you know, Colsey's been a disappointment, this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. This guy's 6'4", 212. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. The best friend of a quarterback is a wide receiver that can go up, make plays. Not to mention, you got guys like Eli Raritan. I don't understand why we just don't run a couple of fly routes with these big tight ends we got. Look. Eli Raritan is 6'7". He doesn't have to get up the field fast. I mean, we get a nice little push up the field, get these guys separated going outside. He runs right down the seam. Just fling it up there to him. Let him go get it. And Mitchell Evans had a pretty nice return. With 2 grabs, 15 yards. Jaden Harrison also becoming a big part here. The 5'10 senior. But as I said, we've got some really big wideouts, guys. And I'm really impressed with the speedster, Chris Mitchell. This is a guy who, in my opinion, if he keeps coming along like this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But the reality of it is, it's got to become connected. This has got to become something where he understands that he's got big receivers. He's got to know where he's going, though. And I think that the other thing is he's got to understand exactly what he's being given. He's got to know the formations, and he's got to know what he's got on the other side. If he's got 6'7" versus 5'9", I'm eating that up all day. Or as in, you got the 6'3" Bo Collins, and for the most part, this is a guy that can go up and get it. I mean, he's got a big body. He's 6'3", 202. So you got to understand, you don't have to put it on. Now, what you do have to do is you have to put it up high. That's what you have to do. All in all, I was exceptionally pleased with the way Riley Leonard played. And that was just the passing game. Because what I'm starting to see is him having some confidence build. And that's very important for the group that we got coming up here. Like I said, 16 of 25, 154 yards and a passing touchdown. Like I said, that is huge considering what the animal we got coming up next. And then we got to look at the rushing game, which in all essence, this is exactly what Riley Leonard's got to be aware of. Louisville's going to understand that they are dealing with a big quarterback and that they are going to go for the ball. Riley Leonard's going to have to understand that, and that he is going to have to protect the football. They're gonna have to understand that this is going to be one of those games where Riley Leonard's going to have 143 yards on the ground more than likely. He had 143 this week and 2 scores. Jeremiah Love, 60 yards on the ground and a score. This was a game where Notre Dame carried it 36 times, but Leonard carried it 12 times. I'm not real sure. I mean, in my history, I've always noticed that the week before a big game, most of your coaches understand that they are trying to put some smoke screen plays out there. What I mean by that, I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm about to say. They're going to put out the film they want them to study. They're going to basically put out the film that they hope that the opposing coaches say, okay, this is what we're not going to have to game plan for. That's what you're thinking if you're Denbrock and Marcus Freeman. You want them to think that Riley Leonard is the guy. But what they forget is Jeremiah Love has got 11 carries for 60 yards. And then you got Jadarian Price, who only had 39 yards on 6 carries. So Price didn't get a whole lot of carries. So it would not surprise me if they go a smaller volume with Riley Leonard, more Jeremiah Love, and more Jadarian Price. Because honestly, Leonard did throw the football more than I would say we wanted him to. Because honestly, what it's going to come down to this week, he's going to have to make some plays with his arm. But I'm hoping Denbrock creates a lot of misdirection and some opportunities for shots, not short stuff. When we throw it, I remember listening to the NBC broadcast where they talked about taking those shots. And that's what you want to be able to do. When you've got a running game that is this good and this efficient and that's this effective, you have to be able to throw the football down the field. Because what happens is it backs those safeties up. And it gets to a point where you've got guys that are creeping in the box. They're less likely to creep in the box if they know that they're a threat to go down the field. And this is where Riley's got to put it up for his guy to go get it, to make a play on the football. Too many times he's underthrown the ball, and honestly, you want to put it out there. You don't want to overthrow it, but you want to put it out there for them to make a play. That is ultimately what your goal is you want a play to be made on the football by your guy. And honestly, you got to trust your Bo Collinses, your Eli Rairdens, and Mitchell Evanses, and even your Deion Colesys. But looking, like I said, at the Notre Dame running game, the offensive line was great yet again. They stumbled for a couple of plays, but ultimately they got it together and they started getting some chemistry together, and it came together. It came together exceptionally well. And I was exceptionally happy with what I saw, other than the turnovers. You take out the turnovers and a couple of penalties, this was a flawless game. And I know a lot of people are going to say, flawless. I agree. We're holding these guys to such a high standard because, as I said, we're not at the top tier yet. I know everybody's looking at it and saying, well, look at what we did to Purdue last week. And a lot of people are wondering, with what we did last week, can we continue it? The thing about it is you got to take it one game at a time. String these games together. Now, what a lot of people are going to say, well, it's kind of synonymous with what happened with Alabama and South Florida, as well as Georgia and Kentucky. And the problem you run into is, as Jim Tressel was trying to tell Marcus Freeman before the Northern Illinois game, you got to keep your guys focused. You have one monster performance, but you got to remember, you need at least 14 of these performances. Look, judging by what you got to go through now, you got to have at least 14 to 15 of these performances. And if you're not doing that, guess what? One bad performance can send you home. One bad performance can send you home. And then you got to have the grit and you got to have the perseverance that when you get behind, you got to be able to climb out of that hole. You got to be able to climb out of that hole when you get down. Then you look at the defense. Boubacar Traore had 2 sacks in this game. He's really come on. He is really starting to carry this defense in the absence of Jordan Patello. But he's done a phenomenal job in coming in relief, and he has really showed some huge promise in these moments that he's come in. But as I said, looking at Jack Kaiser having 5 tackles yet again, Drake Bowen picked up a sack. Howard Cross has continued his entire campaign of being out there just balling all over the place. Xavier Watts got a couple of hands on some balls and did not get another interception. He actually got on a couple of blitzes. And something else that I really was impressed with Xavier Watts is Al Golden is putting him more in isolated situations with tight ends and even running backs, and he's doing a marvelous job with it. He's doing such a good job covering out there, and that's going to be something that's going to be needed with the way Al Golden likes to blitz. But the one thing that I see that may be a problem against Louisville is we've got that speed factor. Louisville's not big, but they're fast. Morrison had 2 tackles. Riley Mills had 3 tackles. Jordan Clark had 3 tackles, as well as Xavier Watts. As we said, Jalen Sneed playing exceptionally well. Morrison also had a couple passes defended. Bryce Young got had a tackle in there. Love seeing this young man in there. As I said, this is going to be huge. They got, as I said, the Irish picked up 4 sacks on the evening, and we're going to need that against Louisville. We're going to need that. And the defense has to continue to keep bringing the heat. Keep bringing that heat and continuously doing what they do. And honestly, I'm gonna say it just like this, you guys. This game wasn't perfect, but I was satisfied. Despite the turnovers and despite the mistakes, this was still a relatively well-played football game. We won 28-3, and everybody's going to say, well, we started slow. I wasn't happy, and this, that, and the other. Look, a win's a win. And that's how I feel. Now, when we want to talk about the next game, that's exactly what you're going to say. Every game has a life and a story of its own to tell. So that's what we've got to look at. I mean, we come out of this game better, but we also have to finish the season differently because, as we said, Jaden Mickey will no longer be with the football team, and we will have to work up and figure out what we're going to do as far as that position goes. Hopefully we can step up in that position as we've done in so many positions with these injuries. I think this team has been very resilient, and it's a testament to the senior experience. But we got to keep it and put it all together. We've got to get a good week of practice, and we've got to get ready because we know it's ahead. But guys, let me know what you think. Notre Dame, did you think that it took us too long to get going? Do you think we had a layover, or we were looking ahead? Just let me know what you think. Go comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. And also go to the Facebook page, Talk Like a Champion. And then also go to my Instagram so you can check out the other things that I'm involved in. But until we meet again, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.